What's up, people? Welcome to yet another Blu-ray collection video. This is going to be all of my non-horror videos. I'm currently filming this at like midnight because what a life I have. I don't think this is quite as big as my horror collection back there, but it's getting pretty close. So I'll be anxious to see what the runtime is on this one compared to my horror one. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. We have first up, we got 1917, one of my favorite horror films of all time. Just excellent. The whole, I know some people say without the whole like one-shot gimmick, it wouldn't be, as good. But I don't know. I just think this is one of the most surreal feeling war films that we've ever seen. We got 2001: A Space Odyssey, masterpiece. Enough said about that one. Anger Management, it's Adam Sandler goofiness. Aquaman. This one gets kind of mixed opinions, but I love this one. We got Arrival, have not watched yet. Definitely need to. We have Assault on Precinct 13. You got the nice steelbook here with a big ass dent in the back. Don't know if you guys can see it there, but it's pretty big. John Carpenter film from the 70s. Absolutely love this one. We have the Austin Powers trilogy. I grew up with these ones. Of course, my name is Austin, and a lot of people call me Austin Powers. Yes, that definitely hasn't gotten old over the years. But yeah, these are all three really funny movies. I guess we can talk about these three together. We got some Avengers movies. You got the first one, which hasn't aged as well as as it's not as good as what it was when you first watched it. The whole kind of gimmick to this movie is all these superheroes teaming up. And while it's still, a really solid movie, there's definitely some parts to it that are lacking, like the whole beginning with Hawkeye being evil, which is really bad, honestly. But still a good time. And then we have Infinity War, the best MCU film. Just about as good as an MCU film can be, I think so. And then Endgame, again, not as good as the first time I watched it because there's some character decisions that they made with some of the characters in this movie that are really head-scratching. Looking at you, Thor. Yeah, it should have been an epic conclusion to the MCU, but they're still, for some reason, making movies. Whatever. Bad Santa, really funny stuff. Awesome. I think the rest of these are going for this little section here, pile here, is going to be all my Batman movies, which I own quite a lot of them. As you can see, I'm a big Batman fan, my favorite comic book hero. We have the first Tim Burton one, I think from '89, from Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. Love this one, love the steelbook too. The movie really holds up, actually. It's a great movie. Batman Returns. Some people prefer this over the first one. I don't. Still a really solid movie. We got Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Awesome animated movie. An even better one, in my opinion, is Batman Year One. My favorite Batman animated movie. It's absolutely incredible. Then we have, of course, the Dark Knight trilogy. Batman Begins, masterpiece. Dark Knight, one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time, and The Dark Knight Rises is another masterpiece. My favorite trilogy of all time. Can't beat it. Can't beat it. Kind of going along with those is Batman Gotham Knights, an animated movie that kind of is unofficially in the Christopher Nolan Batman universe, and it's pretty cool. I like it. We have The Dark Knight Returns, Deluxe Edition. This is parts 1 and 2 together. Great stuff. And last but not least, certainly, is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. This is the Ultimate Edition, of course, the only version to watch. This wasn't on my top 10 comic book films of the 2010s list. Definitely should have been. Last time I watched this one, it definitely clicked with me the most since I've watched it. I think this movie's actually a masterpiece. I absolutely love it. Next up, another DCEU movie, Birds of Prey. Another really kind of mixed opinion one. I loved it, honestly. It's kind of the Deadpool of the DCEU, and quite enjoyed it, actually. I'm gonna try to keep these piles separate here. Billy Madison, my favorite of the kind of silly Adam Sandler movies. One of my favorite comedies in general. Just absolute stupidity, but you gotta love it. You got Black Panther, one of the legitimately great MCU movies. One of the more mature ones as well. But yeah, rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. Kind of wish they weren't making another one because, you know, I just doesn't feel right without Chadwick Boseman, honestly. We got the first two Blade movies. First one's really good. Actually, I've probably seen the second one because, you know, I remember growing up watching the Blade movies, but I haven't seen it recently enough to talk about it, so. Then we have Blade Runner, the final cut. Amazing movie. Don't need to say much about that. Bronx Tale, a movie that I don't see in a lot of collections that I watch on YouTube, and this movie's fucking awesome. Like, it's just, you know, I'm into, like, huge fan of, like, Mafia films and stuff like that, so if you have the Mafia in your movie, I'm most likely going to love it, but this is just a really great story. Really kind of underrated, you know, as Robert De Niro. So, yeah, I just don't hear a lot of people talking about it for some reason. Then we have some Captain America movies, Winter Soldier, you know, one of the other legitimately great MCU movies. And then Civil War, really good stuff. Kind of the lesser version of Batman v Superman. Captain Phillips, amazing movie. Been a long time since I've watched this one. Kind of since it first came out, I think so. But yeah. Big fan of Tom Hanks, and it's one of his better movies that he's been in. Casino, I haven't seen it. This is on my short watch list, I guess, to watch sooner rather than later. Yeah, definitely need to check that out. Clockwork Orange. It's Stanley Kubrick. It's fucked up, but it's awesome. Christmas Story, one of my favorite movies of all time. You know, it's a Christmas story. They play it 24 hours every year, but I like to end it on Steelbook. For one, it's one of my favorite movies, and two, sometimes I feel like watching it before Christmas comes around, and they do that 24-hour marathon. Chronicle, movie I just watched recently for the first time. Really good stuff. This includes the director's cut, which I'm interested in checking out. I know it's only a few minutes longer, but I hope it adds a little more character stuff in it, because I feel like there was something a little lacking, and I hope a few extra minutes gives that to me. But it's a really good movie. Oh, we have the Deadpool movies. Great movies, you know. Very sad that he's going to the MCU. Really hope they don't ruin him. We have Django Unchained. You know, one of my favorite Tarantino movies. My top 3 or 4. Just probably, maybe even objectively his best movie. Probably his best story. It's just fantastic. One of my favorite DiCaprio performances as well. One of my all-time favorite movies, definitely in my top 10, Donnie Darko. Yes, I fucking love Jake Gyllenhaal. He's one of my favorite actors, and yeah, this is just one of those movies that's so complex and is just going to be talked about for the rest of eternity, and we're going to try to dissect it, and we're probably never going to figure it out, and, you know, that's why I love it, and it's just such a dark and bizarre story. Fucking masterpiece. I'm not sure how good this movie is. I've seen it a couple times. I know, like, everybody says it's like a guilty pleasure film for them, but I thought it was good, honestly. Draft Day, I'm a big NFL fan, and I thought this was really cool, so whatever. Don't care. Last up, last little stack for this section, we have Dunkirk. I didn't like this as much the first time I watched it. Rewatched it a couple times. I love this movie now. Still, honestly, probably one of my least favorite Christopher Nolan movies, but this movie does keep going up on each rewatch, so it might become one of my favorites, but saying it's one of my least favorite Christopher Nolan movies is not an insult. He's my favorite director of all time, and I love all of his movies, like, legitimately love all of his movies, so... Eyes Wide Shut. Another fantastic Stanley Kubrick movie, his last one that he ever made. Speaking of great movies, we have Fantastic Four. One I grew up with. I honestly don't think it's as bad as people say. Is it a great movie? No. But I really enjoy this one. You know, it's nostalgic, plus I think it's, you know, an enjoyable movie. Another Christopher Nolan movie, we have Following, his first movie that he ever made, and I love this movie. I think it's super interesting, kind of a character study in a way. The closest thing we've had, I think, to a kind of a horror movie by Nolan, and yeah, it's great. One of the best movies ever made. Forrest Gump, don't need to say much about it. It's, you know, one of my favorites. We have The Fugitive, awesome, kind of action movie from the 90s. Harrison Ford, great stuff. Fury, one of my favorite war films. I just absolutely love the cast, love their chemistry, love the story, and yeah, released the David Ayer cut for the Suicide Squad movie because he directed this movie, and it is amazing. So, next up we have the Godfather trilogy. The first one, actually one of my favorite movies of all time. I know, like, these are always the type of movies that people are like, oh, I know they're great, but there's not ones I like to watch. Yeah, I could pop this one in pretty much any time. Again, it's the Mafia, but it's The Godfather. Legitimately, arguably the best movie ever made. One of my favorites as well. Godfather 2, in my opinion, not as good as the first one. I know some people may disagree, but still excellent, excellent movie. And one I checked out recently is The Godfather Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone. I've never seen the theatrical cut of the third one, so I decided to check this one out for the first time, like I said, not too long ago, and I really liked it. Not as good as the previous two, but a really solid conclusion to the trilogy, and really underrated movie in my opinion. We have a couple of Godzilla films, the original one, legitimate masterpiece of a movie. You know, people that say that, you know, it's a kaiju movie, you can't have, you know, what do you expect? You can't expect good characters and, you know, good story. Have you ever watched this movie? Don't think you have. If you have, you're forgetting about that one. Then we got the 2014, the Gareth Edwards, I don't know which year, 2014, yeah, Gareth Edwards, Godzilla. Definitely my favorite out of the MonsterVerse movies. I'm not a big fan of the whole MonsterVerse thing. You know, they're fun popcorn movies, but other than that, they're not much. But this is the best of all, in my opinion. They have, you know, the story's the best. They have the best characters. Too bad they killed off Bryan Cranston in that movie way earlier than they should. Goodfellas, it's the Mafia, but you know, this movie's masterpiece, obviously. We have the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I honestly like these probably about the same. There's things I like more. There's things I like more about each of these movies. Like, I think this one packs the most emotional punch, I think so, and is the funniest, but this one has the better story, I think so. But these are both really good. Maybe I don't love them as much as, you know, other people do, but, you know, they're really good movies. My favorite Tarantino movie, The Hateful Eight. You saw in my horror collection if you watched it. I'm a big fan of The Thing, and this is basically the non-horror western version of The Thing. It has Kurt Russell in it, and just excellent dialogue. Watch this one every winter. It just has that really cold, isolated feeling, and yeah, I just love everything about it. We have Her. You know, one of Joaquin Phoenix's best performances. You know, speak English, Austin. You know, when this movie was first coming out, I always thought this was gonna be, like, really dumb. It was like a dude who's loving the cell phone, like, what the fuck is that? But they somehow make this work, and it's just an excellent movie, and, yeah, Joaquin Phoenix has a mustache, so can't get wrong with that. And the last movie for this section, another masterpiece. We have Hulk. Yes, Ang Lee's Hulk. I honestly think this is a really solid movie. I know this movie gets a lot of hate. Upon this past rewatch, you know, it's not executed as well as it could have been, definitely. Some of the acting, especially by Eric Bana, is, very overdone. But I really love the ideas in this film, kind of exploring anger. I love the kind of style that they took, you know, with the whole comic book panels in the movie and stuff like that, and really love the Danny Elfman score as well. I know this is one I watched all the time growing up as well, but yeah, I mean, it's a little boring at times, but honestly, I really like this movie. I think it's, you know, one of the most underrated comic book movies. So, that's it for that section. I'm going to go to bed, and then wake up, and then I might film the rest tomorrow, but, I guess, we'll see then. We are back. Once again, it is the next night around midnight, and once again, I have no life. But anyways, getting right into it, we have a nice little Hunger Games collections, all the movies. This is like one of the only like book series I actually read. Love the books. First two movies are legitimately great. Third movie was good. And I don't think I've ever even watched the fourth movie all the way through, oddly. I don't know why I haven't. I'm gonna need to watch that someday, just don't want to right now for some reason. The Steelbook for Inception, one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time. Just one of those movies that just blows your mind that it exists. It's crazy. We have the Indiana Jones collection. Indiana Jones isn't one of my absolutely favorites franchises, but I do really like the first 3, especially Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I've never seen the 4th one because pretty much everybody hates it. And yeah, I just don't want to watch it, whatever. And Glorious Bastards, really great Tarantino movie. One of the best, if not the best, opening scene in movie history. Of course, if you've seen it, you probably agree with me. Insomnia, probably my least favorite Christopher Nolan movie. With that being said, it might be one of his most underrated, because again, this movie is great. another one of those like darker roles for Robin Williams, and those are my favorite roles that he plays. Like a movie you'll see a little bit later, and also Al Pacino. But yeah, just really great movie. Another Nolan movie, Interstellar. Really love this movie. Near masterpiece. It's kind of a common thing now for this to be considered Nolan's best movie. I disagree with that. My only real problem with this movie is when they get on the planet with Matt Damon. I just think the film really slows down for that little portion. But for those people that say Nolan doesn't have good characters in his movies, have you not seen this movie? I don't. And a lot of his other movies, I don't know what you're talking about. You got Iron Man. A bit overrated, I think, but really solid movie. You got the first two John Wicks. I actually haven't seen these, but I want to. One of my top 2 films of all time, Joker. This is like the only movie I've ever watched in theaters where I walked out and I was like, that was one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. I was absolutely blown away. I just emotionally connect with this movie. It just really resonates with me, and each time I watch it, I just pick up on more and more little details and like themes and stuff like that in the movie. It's just an absolute masterpiece. Of course, you guys know it was number 1 on my comic book movies from the 2010s. They got the Jurassic Park trilogy. I've only ever seen the first one, and I love it. It's a great movie, so I need to check out the other 2. I'm kind of interested. I guess we can lump these together. We have some Justice League movies. We have Justice League Flashpoint Paradox, the best superhero animated movie, in my opinion. Just wickedly cool. Justice League War. Pretty much the animated version of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Really good movie. And then the steelbook here for Justice League Dark. I didn't even order this steelbook, but they gave me the steelbook, and yeah, it's awesome. I would love to see a live action version of that, especially because it has Constantine and Swamp Thing. I think those would be some cool characters to see done in a Justice League movie like that. I don't know what I'm talking about, but moving on. Kill Bill, wickedly awesome movie. It's, it's great. Good stuff. I don't have Volume 2 yet. Volume 2 isn't as good as Volume 1, but still really good, and I still need to pick it up. We have some King Kong movies. We have the original. It's a classic, great movie. Arguably the most important film ever made. But Peter Jackson's King Kong is one of my top 10 favorite films of all time. This is one I, grew up watching a lot, but I don't think nostalgia really plays any part in it. I just think this movie's just a masterpiece. The character work in this movie and just the cinematography and the effects, just masterful. It really is, and everybody says the movie's too long. I strongly disagree. The part before they get to the island exists for this thing called character development. I know a lot of kaiju fans apparently don't know what that is. But yeah, I just cannot say enough great things about that. And I have Kong Skull Island. It's fun, I guess. It's a popcorn movie, kind of. Not much to say about that one, honestly. I need to pick up the Blu-ray for the 70s King Kong as well. I actually like that slightly more than the 30s one. We have King of Comedy. I picked this up because, it's heavily inspired Joker. I haven't watched this yet. It's on my short watch list, meaning I'm going to watch it really soon. The Lion King, it's the Lion King masterpiece. don't need to say much about that. Lone Survivor, really good movie. It's been a long time since I watched it. Not one I really want to go back and rewatch anytime soon, but the original Mad Max. I haven't finished this movie, actually. I liked what I saw when I was watching this movie. I just think I got distracted or had to go do something, and never got back to it. And this is the only Mad Max movie that I own. I have seen Fury Road, and I definitely need to pick that up, but don't own it yet. Man of Steel. Yeah, I really love this movie. I really don't understand the controversy for this movie. I think it's definitely the best version of Superman that we've got in live action, for sure. The Matrix in this super skinny case that I don't know if I like. It just feels like when I pick it up, I'm just gonna snap the discs in half. I don't know. But, one of my favorite action films ever, it's The Matrix. Memento, another Christopher Nolan movie that, only he could do. It's a masterpiece. Oddly enough, this isn't even in my top 5 of his movies, but, it just goes to show how much I love his movies. But, it's... you haven't seen it, it's a must-watch. It's a movie told in reverse, and awesome. Speaking of awesome, Nightcrawler, as previously mentioned, I really love Jake Gyllenhaal, and this is my favorite performance of his, and I think this is a 10 out of 10 movie for me. I love everything about it. I love these, character study type movies like you saw with Joker, and some other movies that you saw or are going to see, but yeah, man, I just adore that movie. Norbit. I think this movie is really funny. I, don't really care, and it's really funny. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, another just super, super cool movie. Yeah, it's just one of those movies that you watch, and it's just really relaxing. It's just like a hangout movie, watching these dudes, in Hollywood in the 60s, and it's just fantastic. I have a feeling that the more I watch that, the higher it's gonna climb in my Tarantino ranking. It's already top 5 for me. Speaking of dark Robin Williams performances, 1 Hour Photo. This movie is fantastic. Another type character study type movie, and Robin Williams is awesome in that movie. We have Parasite, the winner for Best Picture from 2019. Actually, I think this is my first 4K that I've shown off. I think I might have, 2 other ones or something. I just randomly picked up on 4K. I don't know. I don't have a 4K player or TV, but I just kind of have this because I found it, and it was cheap enough, so I bought it. Yeah, but great movie. Should it have won Best Picture? Maybe a little biased, but Joker was the best movie I saw that year. But, I'm not going to complain with this one. It's a great movie, and social commentary actually is kind of ballsy, and I really respect it for that. We got some Planet of the Apes movies. The original, one of my, favorite science fiction movies, just a masterpiece, way ahead of its time. Rise of the Planet of the Apes, fantastic movie, and I have not seen Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and I do not own or have seen War of the Planet of the Apes, and I have not seen any of the other original Planet of the Apes sequels, so this would definitely be ones I want to check out, for sure. Polar Express, my favorite animated film. Some people say the animation hasn't aged well. I think this is the most beautiful animation I've ever seen. This movie's just eye candy and just bleeds Christmas. So, love it. You got Predator 1 and 2. Predator, obviously, the most macho movie ever made, and it's awesome. Predator 2 is when I grew up a lot watching. I watched both these growing up a lot. Definitely like this more as a kid. But I still have a good time with it. It's really, really over the top, but it's cool. In my opinion, probably the most underrated film ever made, The Prestige. Another Christopher Nolan movie. This movie is a masterpiece. This movie does not get brought up enough. And it's my favorite. I can't, there's not much I can say, and it's just a really awesome movie. Then we got Pulp Fiction. Honestly, up until recently, this was never one of my favorite Tarantinos, and then last time I watched it, I was like, yeah, I really love this movie. It's Pulp Fiction, man. I mean, it's, probably not my top 3 Tarantinos, but probably right behind Hateful Eight, in a movie you'll see coming up, and then Django. Rear Window, my second favorite Hitchcock movie. This is another, like, really chill movie. I just want to watch a dude look out his window and spy on his neighbors. If I lived in a place like that, that's what I'd be doing. I'd probably be doing that right now instead of, showing you guys, what movies I own. Reservoir Dogs, this was the movie I was talking about. This is my second favorite Tarantino movie. Just the coolest soundtrack ever. Yeah, it's Reservoir Dogs. Everybody knows about that one. Shit. Okay, last little stack for this section. A movie that I had just seen for the first time recently, and I just didn't even know this movie existed. Road to Perdition. This is actually a DC movie, technically, because, it's a comic book movie that's, one of the comic books was put out by DC, so technically it's a DC movie, even though it isn't marketed as one. This movie was a masterpiece. It really was. Again, has to do with the Irish mob. I love the Mafia. I've said that 20 times, but I do. And it has Tom Hanks. I love Tom Hanks. I mean, what do you want me to... It's just a recipe, like, just made for success for me. And it's the director of American Beauty, which I have not seen, but I think this is the film that he did right after American Beauty. But, man, highly recommend this one. Another one of the most underrated films ever made, in my opinion. One of the best films ever made, for sure. My favorite Steven Spielberg movie, Saving Private Ryan, or Saving Ryan's Privates, as some people call it. Again, Tom Hanks. Amazing movie. Just great. Another just masterpiece. You got the Scooby-Doo live-action movie. No, obviously it's not, but, really fun movie for me. Another one from my childhood, so, you know, it's actually pretty funny, honestly. The Shape of Water, one of my favorite romance movies, probably my favorite, Guillermo del Toro movie. Just really unique and, really cool. Another Best Picture winner, and I do think this movie deserved it that year. Shawshank Redemption, masterpiece movie, don't need to say much about it. Yeah, it's Shawshank Redemption. Another childhood favorite, we have Shrek. Great stuff. Full of memes by now, and this just makes the movie even better. So, don't own Shrek 2, definitely want to, and I don't care to own the other ones. Another childhood favorite of mine, Space Jam. Everybody who grew up in my age group loves Space Jam, and yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's not an actual great movie, but it's awesome though, and I refuse to watch the new one. So, speaking of refusing to watch, doesn't have to do with this particularly, but we got the Spider-Man trilogy here. This comes with also the editor's cut for Spider-Man 3, which you haven't checked it out, definitely do so, because it does improve upon the movie. And kind of mind-boggling that Sam Raimi didn't put some of the scenes that are in the editor's cut in the movie. It's kind of strange to me. But, you know, the first two Spider-Mans, two of my favorite movies of all time. Especially the second one. The second one is my favorite out of all of them, and I do love Spider-Man 3 too. Obviously not as good as the first two, but, you know, just have so many fond memories of this trilogy, honestly. These are the films for me that are, like, closest to my heart, honestly, like, over everything. I just watch these so much.
growing up, so I just had such a strong attachment for this, even though this isn't technically my favorite trilogy. As I mentioned earlier, the Dark Knight trilogy is. This just holds such a special place in my heart, like I said, and the fact that the MCU is bringing back Doc Ock and Green Goblin is pretty disgraceful, and I do not plan on watching that movie because they had their arcs in these movies, and now they're just undoing it, and yeah, I don't want to talk about it. Speaking of MCU, we do have the MCU Spider-Man movies, the ones that I did watch. Homecoming is really good. It definitely does capture the essence of Spider-Man. I love the scene at the beginning when he's helping the old lady across the street, because it's just like, yeah, that's Spider-Man. That's what he would do. Far From Home, I enjoyed. It's one of those ones, the more I think about it, the less I do enjoy it. It does have Jake Gyllenhaal in it, but they kind of made him a bland, forgettable villain, and kind of disappointing, and didn't really feel like a Spider-Man movie. It just felt like a generic, MCU movie that just happened to have Spider-Man in it. Maybe that definitely is not generic, though, is Into the Spider-Verse. Great. Great movie. Wish the live-action multiverse Spider-Man that's coming out, No Way Home, whatever the hell it's called, I wish it was going to be more like this, where they kind of make different versions of the characters and stuff like that. Create something new, actually. And, yeah, I thought this one really worked. And, yeah, it's fantastic. And to close out this section, we have our Star Wars movies. So we got the original trilogy. Empire Strikes Back is one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time. New Hope is another one of my favorite films of all time. Return of the Jedi is great, but not as good as the previous two. We have the prequel trilogy, which I actually do really enjoy. I do really enjoy the Phantom Menace. Well, I enjoy I really love the second half. The first half is but I really enjoy it as a movie as a whole. Attack of the Clones, I still get enjoyment out of it. It's decent enough for me. Revenge of the Sith, is an awesome movie. Kind of overrated by some people. It's not the best Star Wars movie. Sorry, but it isn't. The Force Awakens, one of my favorite theater experiences ever. This film just felt like a breath of fresh air, honestly, even though it is a loose remake of A New Hope, essentially, just kind of with a, new coat of paint on it. It was good enough for me, and I really love that movie. Movie that I love even more is Rogue One. This is my third favorite Star Wars movie behind Empire and A New Hope. It's like a war movie first, before it's a Star Wars movie, and love that about it. Another movie that I actually love is The Last Jedi. Yeah, I love this movie. I don't care what people say. It's a great movie. Definitely has some flaws. But really good stuff, I think so. And my favorite version of Luke Skywalker. Take that, fanboys. And another 4K that I own is Solo: A Star Wars Story. Yeah, it's pretty good stuff, really solid. Third act in this movie is pretty bad, but the first 2/3, really enjoyable stuff. So, don't know why I own that one 4K and not some of the other ones, because this one obviously isn't my favorite, but whatever. So yeah, that's it for that stack. I'll probably see you guys tomorrow at midnight, because I'll probably have nothing else to do then, so to finish off the rest of my Blu-rays. So see you then. Alright, plot twist. It's actually the same night that I filmed the last one, and I just went over and grabbed the other ones because there's only 2 stacks remaining, so I said, fuck it, let's finish it off. So, we got Step Brothers, one of my favorite comedies of all time. It's Step Brothers, man. That's all you can say. We have Suicide Squad, Hell to Pay. Up until recently, this was the best Suicide Squad movie. Then James Gunn Suicide Squad was fantastic. But this movie is also fantastic, so definitely check this one out. If you have HBO Max, it should be on there. Speaking of James Gunn, we have Super. Yeah, this is his superhero movie that he made before Guardians of the Galaxy, and yeah, if you thought Suicide Squad was crazy, watch this one. This movie is pretty wild. It's pretty wild. It's kind of get to look into the mind of James Gunn. He's an odd dude, but it's a great movie. Superbad, another one of my favorite comedies. Yeah, McLovin. I used to have a shirt with McLovin, his driver's license on it, so wish I still had it. You guys know I love character studies. Obviously, you know that I must love this movie, Taxi Driver, my favorite Scorsese movie. Man, one of my top 15 films ever made. Probably maybe the best directed movie I've ever seen. Just the way it's shot, like the colors and the atmosphere of this movie. It's just the music. It's just everything about this movie. It's just, yeah. Another pretty polarizing movie, but one of my favorite action movies ever made, and that is Tenet. Yeah, I know some people said this movie was overly confusing, it was a mess, I must have watched a different movie. This movie does take multiple viewings to fully understand, and I just want you able to understand more of the concepts and the ideas in the film. It's just one of those movies that just blows your mind that it exists. Some of the best action scenes I've ever seen. And just one of the coolest premises, and a lot of people say the characters are shallow in this movie, which, yeah, they definitely aren't as developed as some of the other Nolan characters, but there is, you know, some little stuff going on that you can pick up on that gives the characters, you know, some slight depth to them, or makes you care about them at least enough, especially the female dude's wife in the movie. She's a pretty cool character, I think so. We have the Terminator movies, the only two I really want to own. Maybe pick one up, but anyway. First Terminator, it's, amazing. Don't need to say much about it. And T2, again, don't need to say much about it. It's the best action movie ever made, so. Everybody knows that, though. I'm sure people are sick and tired of hearing people say that, but it's true. We got the Thor movies. The first Thor, actually another great MCU movie in my opinion. Thor's arc in this movie is fantastic. Like one of the few MCU movies that actually has like a really great character arc in it, and definitely probably because it's one of the earlier ones, I would assume. But yeah, I love that movie. I know it, nowadays, for some reason, people are more lukewarm on it, and I don't get why, because when it came out, everybody loved it. And I also like Thor: The Dark World as well. I know that one gets a lot of hate, but I like it. Just don't own it yet. Thor: Ragnarok, the definition of a fun popcorn movie. There's no depth or anything to this movie. It's just a flat-out comedy, but it's really funny, and the action looks absolutely stunning, so. But I do like the first Thor better for its character work and story. And our last little stack here, we got the Unbreakable trilogy. Unbreakable, one of my top 10 films of all time. Just so ahead of its time. Probably my favorite score of any movie. With James Newton Howard's score in this movie, and David Dunn's also one of my favorite movie characters of all time. Very inspiring movie. I love watching that movie when I feel down. To kind of makes me want to run through a brick wall. It just gets me amped up. We have Split, which is a horror movie, but I put it with the Unbreakable trilogy. Fantastic, man. James McAvoy is still the show in this one, and Anya Taylor-Joy, as always, is fantastic. I love her in every movie I've seen her in. I just... maybe, I don't know if I've said it or not, but she's probably my favorite actress of all time. And we have Glass, which I thought was great. Probably the weakest of the trilogy, but I loved it. Loved it. Another comic book movie. I've got a couple in a row there, I think. V for Vendetta. Super underrated. Another one of probably my second favorite actress, Natalie Portman. She probably gives her best performance in this movie, I would say. It's just such a great movie. Another one that's underwatched. And it is fantastic. We have Vertigo. Great Hitchcock movie. I'm not quite on the... this is one of the best, if not the best movie ever made kind of train that people put this on. I did think the story got a little bit wonky. I think it tried to do a little too much, in my opinion. If, first you think it's going to be this type of movie, then it's another type of movie, then it's another type of movie, and it just was a little too much for me, but it's a great movie, not putting it down. Watchmen, my favorite Zack Snyder movie, and one of my favorite top 5 comic book movies of all time. It took me 4 watches to really appreciate this movie as much as I do now, and visually stunning, phenomenal characters. It is great. Waterboy, it's Adam Sandler, greatness. Hilarious. Speaking of greatness, Waterworld, yes. This is... I don't quite get why this movie gets as much hate as it does, because it's basically Mad Max, but on the water, and it's just so over the top and silly, but it's really fun. I've always enjoyed that movie. Wolf of Wall Street, excellent Scorsese movie, and another fantastic DiCaprio performance. Wonder Woman, really good movie. Not one of my favorite DC movies like it is with a lot of other people, but still really good. I do really enjoy that one a hell of a lot more than I did Wonder Woman 84. Jesus. I don't know what went wrong between this one and the second one, but the second one, man, just spit on her character, I think, and it just was horribly directed and just tried way too hard to be an MCU movie, and it even failed to do that. Then to close out all of this, we have the X-Men movies. The first one, really good. Second one, a little bit better. Have not seen these 3, actually. Really need to get on those. There's a loose disc in there somewhere. I'll deal with you later. And last, and certainly not least, definitely not least, Logan. Masterpiece. Arguably the best Marvel movie ever made. Personally, I like Spider-Man 2 more, but, objectively, this might be a better movie. I don't know. It's hard for me to put my nostalgia aside for the Spider-Man movies, but, this movie is just a masterpiece. It is one of those movies that just transcends the comic book genre, and is just a masterpiece movie. Kind of like the Dark Knight trilogy, and like Joker, and Watchmen, and movies like that. But, yeah, that does it for my non-horror section. I think that turned out to be definitely shorter than my horror section, but as you can tell, it's growing. And yeah, I guess next up we have my horror DVDs and my non-horror DVDs. Then I have some shows and stuff, and TV shows to show off still. So yeah, be looking out for those in the near future, and catch you guys then. Okay, so I just realized I missed 3 somehow. I don't know how that happened, but I did. So really quickly, Titanic, my favorite romance movie of all time, one of my favorite movies of all time, period. And we got Toy Story 3, probably my favorite of the Toy Story movies, honestly. And then we got the 4K of Toy Story 4, which was fantastic as well. Don't own the other Toy Story movies for some reason. Probably because I haven't found them cheap enough. But I definitely need to. But goodbye, for real this time.